Hi again, Tony Zielinski from Capital University in the next installment of our informational videos about tuba. Before we go any further though, make sure that you click like and subscribe down below so you'll know when these videos are coming out. It's rare to hear a tuba player say this, but one of my favorite instruments in the world to play is the sousaphone. I love getting to be a bass player. We tuba players tend to spend a lot of our lives sitting in the back row of the orchestra and the band, playing our tuba parts, which are great, and I love doing it, but I love it when I get the chance to be the bus driver in a jazz band or a rock band, or in my New Orleans combo, the New Basics brass band. I love being able to do that. Today we're going to talk about a couple sousaphones I've got here. Of course, for you educators as well, you're going to be needing sousaphones for your marching band. They are the section that drives the rhythm and the harmony of your marching band, so you really want to have a quality instrument. I am always preaching, like every other musician on the planet, intonation. Sousaphones can play in tune. Sousaphones can be a great sounding instrument, but you have to have the right gear and you have to maintain it and make sure you've got a quality instrument. What I'm wearing right now is a King 2350 sousaphone. It is a relatively lightweight instrument, not too hard on the shoulder. Again, that's the biggest concern for the sousaphone in an educational setting. How heavy is it? Can my students carry this thing around? Of course, there are alternatives. There are hybrid sousaphones now that have a brass body and a fiberglass or carbon fiber bell that you can actually get. Yes, the weight is different. The problems that I've always seen with those is the imbalance in weight. The brass section is quite heavy. The carbon fiber part is light, and they also flip-flop that. You can get a plastic-bodied sousaphone with a metal bell, and that tends to make it very top heavy. So, but there are options out there. So you need to, again, get with a professional, find somebody who can say, hey, help me find a sousaphone for my band, because you want to sound good all the time, and you want your students to sound good, because there's nothing that will hinder a student more at the beginning of their musical career than playing on a piece of bad equipment. So let's find what we can find to help them get it. So this is the King 2350. I just want to run through some of its things. The 2350 has a modular body. As you can see, there are some thumb screws here that you can actually take the valve section off. Now, this is not something that we ever suggest that you as an educator or you or your students do. These are here, though, for repair. If something happens to the valve section, it can be easily removed and repaired and put back on. The parts of the sousaphone are interesting when compared to the tuba, because all this really is a big marching tuba, named after John Philip Sousa, as you all know, who suggested its construction. And he didn't build it himself. He was too busy conducting his band. But it was built for him. And his original sousaphones, if you can picture it, instead of a bell, as this bell, what you can do, you loosen these set screws up, and you can slide this bell around so that your sousaphone section can look uniform. John Philip Sousa's bell on the original sousaphone pointed straight forward, and then if he wanted to, it would point straight up. And so instead of rotating side to side, it rotated up and down so that he could put it on stage with the bell up, and it would play like a regular tuba. And then when they went outside to march, he would move it down, and then they could, with the directional sound, and march behind the band and keep everybody together. So sousaphones have changed a long time since John Philip Sousa's day. There are quite a few manufacturers out there, but again, I want to point out some more things about this. Slides are very accessible on this instrument. 3 and 1 are movable here. Main tuning slide is right here. You find it here on many sousaphones, but it's right here on this instrument. And up at the top, you can adjust 3 and 2. The one thing that I like to see on sousaphones, which this one does not have, again, it's not a deal breaker for me, but the no adjustable first valve up at the top. But as long as you can set the instrument, just like when I talked about in a previous video, 3-valve tubas, this functions just like the 3-valve tuba. You need to get the intonation set before you start playing. So the thumb screws, as I talked about, 3-valve setup. Also, this part of the sousaphone is the scariest part, because these are the bits that always get lost. As you educators know, these all come apart. These are called the tuning bits. I'm not going to get that one out right now. These all come apart, and you can put these on or take them off depending on if you have intonation problems. If the horn is too sharp, you need to make it longer, so you can put an extra tuning bit on. Or sometimes you'll have a student who can't quite get to the place on the instrument. You can put another tuning bit on, and then the neck swivels right here. These parts are actually quite delicate, so need to be taken great care of when you're taking care of the sousaphone. But this tightens down, and if you've got a good sousaphone, this should tighten down, and you should be able to put your mouth on it and play without having to hold on to it here. One of the biggest problems that you have with sousaphones is that quite often you'll get a neck mismatched to an instrument, so it won't fit tightly. The student has to hold on here, especially if you're in a marching band that does a lot of acrobatics. They'll grip this and break it, and then your receiver is broken. So make sure that you're keeping your necks and your bits, actually have a plan in place for your students where to keep all this stuff so that it's always in the same place. When they pop open their sousaphone, everything is right there so it never gets lost. Again, great sousaphone, fully adjustable, and just going to blow a little bit more on it for you so you can hear a little bit more of what it sounds like. And I love the fact that this sousaphone sounds like a tuba when you play it like that. The other thing that I think is interesting to note in sousaphones is, of course, you're outdoors and you're going to be playing quite loudly. We want to make sure that the instrument doesn't break up with an overload of sound. Now, most of us don't have to worry about that. In high school, the students aren't going to be blowing that hard, but it is nice to hear what an instrument plays like at a little bit higher volume. And that one has a very resonant sound in that register. This is a fantastic horn. I really like the way this responds. I like its lightness. I do like the look. Again, cosmetics is very important with a sousaphone. The other problem with the sousaphone is this bell is very big. It gets banged up and knocked around, so as much protection as we can give these instruments is going to be crucial. Let's take a peek at another instrument. Now, this sousaphone that I've got is a classic. This is the Conn 20K sousaphone, one of the most popular sousaphones ever made, used all throughout the country. College bands specifically love this one. A lot of high schools use this one as well. Very durable. Very great sound. I love this sousaphone because it really, truly, even though the King, which I agree plays like a tuba, this one really feels like a tuba when I play it. You're going to notice very similar design to the King. The thing that I like, and we'll talk about the really big important features in a minute here. The thing, again, accessible tuning slides, water key on 3, main tuning slide is back here. You can adjust 3 and 2 up at the top. I wish that, again, that you could adjust 1, but that's okay. You can set it here. Probably the greatest feature of the 20K, which has been its big calling card forever, is the valve system setup. Now, I can't take it apart because it's problematic for time, but these have oval-shaped valve ports. And if you ever get a chance to take a peek at a 20K valve, put it up close with a 2350 or any other sousaphone, and you're going to notice that the 20K only has to push down about 3/4 of an inch to get the valve all the way engaged. Other instruments, depending on the size of the bore, sometimes have to push down a full inch to get the valve all the way from top to bottom. And that's problematic for finger speed because the shorter you have to push it, the faster you can go. So what Conn did when they designed this was that they made the valve ports oval shaped instead of round, so you don't have to push them as far, and that has made all the difference in the world. They actually used this valve set on some of their concert tubas back in the last century and even before. So that is the big deal. Now, one of the other things on the new, this is a newer 20K obviously, is that they have added a whole bunch of structural reinforcement to this instrument. As we talked about with the other sousaphone, these things get banged around pretty badly, and they need to be taken care of. Well, Conn did a good job of putting some really really heavy-duty braces in here. You can see here some double bracing here because this spot is very, very delicate. Not anymore. This 20K is really tight right there. Neck and bits are firm in there. I mean, that's one of the most stable setups I've seen on a Sousaphone in a long time. Slides accessible. Of course, the bell completely movable. This is the shiny silver. A lot of Conn also makes this in a satin finish, which is very attractive as well. But a great Sousaphone. Let me play it a little bit for you, just to kind of show you what it's like. I'm going to play the tuba excerpts that I played on that instrument to show you what it sounds like at lower dynamics and a little higher dynamics. So very pretty sound, it's very capable of having that quality of tone. And then of course, if you need it to light up, it's got a pretty good low end on it and a projection as well. So the low end is fantastic. One of the things that I wanted to talk to you about as well, in the tuba world, of course, as I've talked about in previous videos, 3-valve versus 4-valve, and again, you can even go 5-valve and 6-valve tubas. When you only have 3, we typically have to stop at low E, right? And then we could pick up the pedal register below that at B flat. But in the middle, we miss a few notes. And if you've done any study of the tuba, you'll know that there are what are called induced tones that are producible on most instruments. Some instruments are better than others. Well, this Sousaphone has a fantastic induced tone range. So let me play for you from B flat down to E. So that's the pedal E, and now we start on E flat open. All the way down to B natural. And that is the best sounding set of induced tones that I've heard on any instrument, bar none. So it is possible, and again, as you train your young tuba players, or those of you that are more experienced players, you know that you can get those pedal tones out on this Sousaphone and many others as well. But don't shy away from learning and using those induced tones. And then, of course, just because we can, we tend to drop ourselves way down off the bottom of the piano. So we got to that low B. And then we go to B flat. All the way down to E. This Sousaphone projects and plays a lot like a tuba, which is why I really like this instrument. So the two instruments that we showed you today, the King 2350, the Conn 20K, the sort of the gold standard of Sousaphones. As you go forward looking for Sousaphones, either for school or for your own use, remember to ask your local professionals, give somebody a call, say, hey, what kind of Sousaphones do I have out there? What's possible? What can I use? What'll work for me? But like I said, we will have links to these instruments down below in the description. Make sure that you click like and subscribe and turn on the notifications so that you know that when these videos are coming out. Thanks for watching.